Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our Montessori Thrive Town Hall. These are for Montessori school leaders and administrators, educators. We do these every Thursday throughout this school year. And today we have Isabella Kai. We are so excited to have her. And please, if you have anything to say, you can put it in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and talk with us. We want this to be an active discussion. With that, I'll give it over to Isabella.
Thank you so much, Julia. And hi, everyone. It's so nice to be here. It's my second time presenting, and I had such a great experience last time, not just because of the content I get to share, based on the work that we've been dedicated to, but it's the conversations that, the space that Montessori Thrive creates and allows it to happen. And I'm excited for, the opportunity today to present, and share the knowledge we've accumulated along the way, especially in parent education work. And so, without further ado, I'm going to pull up my slide deck. And today's topic is Montessori Parent Partnership Make Personal, from clarity to confidence to integration. So my name is Isabella Kai. I'm the founder and CEO of Motopia. So first started with what is Montopia? So Montopia is the first Montessori parent partnership platform that turns classroom data into personalized, bite-sized parent education content while we streamline teacher documentation, communication, and reporting in one intuitive app. And right now, based on all the schools across Montopia on the platform, we're able to see over 80% of parent engagement rate. We're trusted by AMI USA. We're fortunate to collaborate with AMI USA in this whole endeavor of creating Montopia. We're also partnered with Neil House and Montessori Services to bring the authentic Montessori material photos into Montopia for parent education purposes. But before I get into the knowledge of what we learned about parent education along the way for the past 2 years of creating Montopia, I love to kind of talk quickly about how I get started. So my background was not in education. It was not Montessori. I am a data scientist. And of course, I'm a Montessori mother, and that's how I get started in the first place. But the when I first came across Montessori education, it was because of my oldest daughter, Annie, who's in this photo. And that's about when she was 18 months old. And I still remember at that time, for most every day, when I talk to her, ask a question, every conversation, the answer is always no. Even the question was about, oh, sorry, let me get back to the previous photo. I don't know why it keep changing. But yeah, I still remember when she was 18 months old, and even the question was, do you want a blue dress or red dress? The answer is always no. And so I'm very curious about how to get her to say yes. And I started reading a lot of parenting books, and that's when I first came across Montessori education. And my real experience about Montessori actually happened during the pandemic with my two daughters. They were 2 and 4 in the photo. And they get bored and they were not able to sit in front of the computer for hours of instructions from school because they moved the classroom in online during the pandemic. So I decided to homeschool them. So I bought the books, I created a home environment for them. I bought the materials, which are very expensive. And we did that for about 18 months. It was a very scary moment for me because without being trained and trying to just implement Montessori education at home with the 2 and 4, without any outside guidance based on books and videos, it was a very scary time for me, but it turned out to be a great memory for all of us as well. Um, and we did it for 18 months. It was fascinating, but when they returned back to their classroom, I had a very shocking experience of realizing that when I was there with them for the 18 months, I know almost everything about their learning. And now going back to school, it became a black box for me. And that's when I became very curious. And I was like, is it because of me having, been there for 18 months, or is it a common problem? So I start talking to a lot of parents, Montessori parents around me, and it turned out to be a very common challenge for most of the parents. And then I started talking to a lot of schools, and it turned out that, for schools, and one of the biggest challenges is how can I make sure that parents understand the true value of Montessori education? And Again, out of my personal curiosity, I brought in my data background and expertise, and we collaborated with a few Montessori schools locally in San Diego, and we conducted a parent survey, trying to understand deeper about what's the root cause of the problem, what kind of experience Montessori parents are, receiving, whether there's anything that's lacking, and how do we bridge the gap, and is it even possible to bridge the gap? Is there any other solutions out there? And we conducted the survey. We collected over 100 responses. And I'm going to share some of the very interesting insights that we collected and analyzed that I presented here right now in this one-page infographic. But we did another very deep dive analysis with 24 slides of infographics. And so I'm going to send that to the Montessori Thrive team, and they can share it with you guys after the webinar if you're interested in looking deeper into more insights that we're not able to share and present today. So let me go into the infographic, and I'm going to make it bigger so you can all see it well. So this one-page infographic kind of highlights some of the key insights from the parent survey. If you are, I'm going to send this send this link to all of you as well after the webinar. And so to navigate this infographic in the center, you can see the number from 5 to 10. And the question that we ask about parents is, how do they rate themselves about their knowledge of Montessori from 0 to 10? Interestingly enough, everybody's confident enough to rate themselves 5 and above. So if you click on the number from 1 to 10, everything else will change based on the rating. So if you click on 5, all the other charts in the infographic will shows the responses from parents who rate themselves on the level 5. If you click on 10, then everything will shift to reflect the responses for parents who rate themselves on level 10, from 1 to 10, of course. So let's go back to all of the parents who responded to the survey. On the top left corner, we asked the questions about how were you introduced to Montessori in the first place. And we're seeing over 40% of the parents responded that it's friends and family. 30% says it's schools and educators, meaning if I go to a school for a tour, that's when I first learned about Montessori education. Or I have a friend who's an educator or a teacher, and that I was introduced to Montessori by a Montessori educator. Online resources is 16%. So those covers up the top 3 resources for parents and how they first got introduced to Montessori education. The other question we asked is, have you actively sought to learn more? And again, I want to remind you, for the parents who responded to this survey are parents who enrolled their children in a Montessori school currently, meaning when we're doing the survey, which was like about a year ago. So we asked parents who enrolled their children in a Montessori school whether they're interested in learning more about Montessori education. Surprisingly enough, 44%, that's almost 50% of parents said that they're not really interested in learning more. But almost everybody, their number one challenge is the lack of understanding or clarity regarding their child's daily learning. We also asked the question about when parents are looking for a school, what are all the factors that they take into consideration and how would they rank them? So if you go into this bookmark, you can see the explanation of each factor. So for example, location means where the school is located. And if you see method down on the 5th place on this list, methods means the implementation of the Montessori methods. So you can read through all the definitions of each factor. But as you can see, safety, staff, reputation, facilities are the top 4. Montessori methods is one of them as well. Tuition, location, holidays, and wait list. Something interesting that I will show you is if we only look at parents who rate themselves on the lower rank of the rating of Montessori knowledge, they value Montessori methods less when they're looking for a school. So method drop further down to the list of the factors when they consider a Montessori school. If we look at parents who rate themselves 10, you can see methods goes up more, which means if a parent, when they first get into the door of your school and they already know more about Montessori education, it's more likely that they're committed to choose a Montessori education for their child. We're gonna go into deeper about how do we connect all the dots together from this infographic. But the quick story and insights from here is the parents who they know more, for those parents who know more about Montessori education, it's more likely that they're going to stick to a Montessori education for their children. We also ask parents about, okay, why don't you show up for Montessori school parent education events, which is a very common challenge based on our conversations with a lot of schools. And the top three reasons are, time conflicts. So the time that the school events are happening does not allow me to, it's conflicting with my schedule, so I cannot go. Another reason is there's no child care for me. And the third reason is there's no time for me to go. I don't know whether that aligns with your experience, but based on our experience, it's quite common and it's a shared experience among a lot of the schools we work with. The last question that I want to share with you from this infographic is the most helpful learning resources for parents if they choose to learn more. And the first top one is online resources. Another one is books. Of course, school events is important too for those parents who wanted to learn more. And the other one is parenting courses. So when I look deeper about what does it mean and what's the common characters of all these learning methods. But this is kind of a high overview of the study that we've done. Again, I mentioned that we've created also a deep dive analysis. Uh, it has a more detailed breakdown of the survey and all of the insights that we gather from the study. I'm going to share that with the team, and they can share it with the school leaders who are in the webinar today and interested to and have a deeper dive. And reach out to us after you read through this, and if you have any questions or feedback to share with us. So let me go back to the slide. Before I move forward, any questions or comments or anything you'd like to share? Okay, we'll take that as a no. So from this infographic, a few things that we learned. The first one is, what do parents want to know? Parents don't necessarily want to know more about philosophy, but they are eager to seek for clarity about their child's Montessori learning experience from these two charts. The second thing is, how about parent education events, right? So if we're looking at almost 50% of the parents said that they're not interested in learning about the education philosophy. And for that, the other 50% who are interested in learning, with the common barriers that prevent parents to go to those events, it's not surprising that I'm often hear from schools, it's always that 10, 20% of parents who always show up. And that explains why. So how parents learn best? We look at all the resources that they find it most helpful. Online resources is the top one. And if we're going back to the deep dive of analysis that I'm showing here, that I will share with you later on, is online resources take up 32% of the parents' responses, meaning, and books is 22%. So almost 55% of the parents says that books and online resources are the most useful resources for them. So what's the story here that it tells us? It tells us that books and online resources, they are, first of all, they're very structured. They're personalized learning, meaning I can pick the content based on what's relevant to me right now, based on my parenting challenges and practices. It's easy access. I can pick up the book. I can go online and search for anything without going anywhere. And also, it's highly relevant because I can just search for things that I think it's super relevant to what the answers that I'm looking for right now. I can flip to a book of the page of book that's relevant to a topic that I'm very interested in learning at this moment. And when we're catering for school events, we have a set topic, and it's likely sometimes it's very generalized, and we're trying to create a event to all parents. It's a little bit difficult to curate the content based on each parent's personal challenges and their own unique needs, and to meet the needs of their child's unique developmental stage at the moment when they're attending a certain event. And the last thing that I want to share from this infographic is parent education is actually your best marketing from the information that we gathered from this survey. Why? Because parents don't choose schools because of ads. They choose them because of conversations with friends and families, from conversations with schools. And again, I want to emphasize that friends and families are the most important channel for parents to get first introduced to Montessori education. You may not surprised to hear the story about, well, I first know about Montessori education because my friend's daughter is doing four-digit, division when she's four, and I'm amazed. So I want to know more about Montessori education. So it's very common that a lot of parents learn about Montessori education from their friends and families. And when they're choosing a school, if they know more about Montessori, it's more likely that they're going to go with the Montessori education. So the insights here is if you are able to educate your parents by giving them clarity of understanding what their child's learning, what's the purposes behind it, how they're able to achieve that level of academic achievement when they're still young at age 4 and 5 or even 6, right? Whether they have the right language to explain Montessori concepts to their friends when they're introducing it to their friends and make it convincing. Are they able to demonstrate the value of Montessori education to their friends? And all those things will help your parents to become the best advocates for your school and for Montessori education philosophy in general. And so, based on what we talk about so far, what are the most effective parent education solutions that we can potentially create to improve the communication to parents about the value that the education philosophy your school is delivering?
Are other people seeing that Isabella is frozen? Okay. All right, we'll give it a minute or two. That happened to me last week where my Zoom crashed in the middle. So, all right, Isabella, are you back with us? Okay, you are muted again. There we go.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. And
That's okay.
so, am I where were I when we got cut off?
You were talking about the parent educate. Yep, you were on that screen. Nope, yep, this one.
Ah, okay. So I was talking about, effective parent education requires to have more frequent touch points with parents, and it's better to be bite-sized. We also need to make sure that the content is highly relevant to parents, because thinking about you yourself as an adult, when you're learning any topic, when you have a strong interest and you feel very relevant to the content that's very relevant to you and your personal interest and needs, that's when you learn the best. And it's best to ask for minimum efforts. So traveling to schools during traffic peak times after pick up and drop off, it's harder for parents to commit to a parent event. But if we can deliver the content to parents without asking too much of effort, that's when the content can be easily delivered and consumed by parents. Also, we need to look for the right motivation, meaning, how do we motivate parents to learn about content, to learn about the content that we want them to learn. The last thing I think is also very important is practice repetition, meaning we're giving parents the information at the right time. They can take it on, they can practice it in their parenting exercise every day. They have the opportunity to repeat those exercise or those practices, and they get to experience the true benefits of Montessori education in their daily life. And if we're able to meet all those criteria, that's when we're able to deliver a more powerful and effective parent education experience to our parents. So how do we reimagine parent education if we're trying to hit all those goals? Would it be possible if we break down Montessori framework into bite-sized learning? The answer is yes. If we think about different ways of presenting the content, can we create videos? Can we take research-backed, insights and visualize them and deliver them to parents? Can we write up the content to explain the lessons? Can we design home activities that deliver to parents so that they can integrate the learning real time into their home? So that's how we think about break down the whole, complex framework into bite-sized information. To make it relevant, would it be possible if we weave those education content into the child's learning updates? Deliver those rich, engaging content, but map it with the child's individual learning in the classroom and deliver to parents at the real time. If that's possible, then how can we leverage the classroom data to make sure the delivery of the content meets the child's individual learning and meets the child's individual timeline to allow the parents to find it super relevant about the content, the parent education content, and feel the need and the desire to learn those content. Would it be possible that we deliver the content to parents where they are? Usually, it's their phone. Can we give parents what they want the most after they're learning the content, which, from our experience and our conversations with parents, is their child's photo of learning in the classroom? Would it be possible that we find ways to help parents to extend Montessori philosophy into their home, giving them practical tools, the language, activities that they can use right away, which also aligns with their child's learning? So this is kind of the goal that we're creating when we're, building the platform of Montopia. And based on that, we're very proudly to present that in Montopia, we're creating a very rich parent education content library, which includes lesson explanations in parent-friendly language. So we rewrite all the content for each lesson. We collaborate with Neon House and Montessori services to bring authentic and professional material photos into the app, allowing parents to visually see the learning in the classroom and allow them to have the right language to talk to their children. We create videos, Montessori Explain videos, to explain and demystify key concepts of Montessori education. So I'm going to quickly show you one of the examples. So let's say if we talk about concrete to abstract.
The absorbent mind. In Montessori, the absorbent mind describes the remarkable ability of children under 6 to learn simply by living. Their minds take in impressions directly from their surroundings, without textbooks, tests, or formal instruction. From birth to 3, this learning is unconscious. They absorb language by hearing it, movement by watching and imitating, and social behavior by observing others. From 3 to 6, this becomes conscious learning. They begin to choose work, repeat activities to master skills, and intentionally explore the world around them. As Maria Montessori said, the child has a type of mind that absorbs knowledge and instructs itself. In this stage, the environment matters deeply. Every sound, every interaction, every detail of order or disorder leaves a lasting impression. That's why Montessori environments are designed with such care, to match the child's natural way of learning and to make the most of this extraordinary stage.
So that's one of the form of materials we're bringing into, the parent education experience. Another very convincing way is data, because I'm a data person, data and research-backed results. So, and in Montopia, we run a Montopia Data Lens program where we take in a lot of data to visualize and visualize a lot of Montessori insights and trends to share with the community. So we're able to leverage the knowledge that we have, the expertise that we have to curate parent education content. So one of the recent projects that we're working on is taking the book from Dr. Angeline Lillard, Montessori, the science behind the genius, and we have a deep dive into the content in the book, and we collect all the services, all the research, all the studies about Montessori education, and we collected over 200 data points, meaning all the all the studies that's cited in the book, and we categorize them into different buckets. And so one of the topic we're presenting here is about motivation and rewards in education. And based on the book, we're able to map out 40 years of research in this topic, whether it's conducted in a traditional education setting or it's a Montessori education setting. And if you hover over each of the dots or the star, you're able to see on a specific year what research has done by which researcher and what's the summary in the topic of rewards. And we're comparing between traditional as well as Montessori education about how rewards are used differently in these two education settings and what's the impact. And on the right hand side, we summarize all the research for those 40 years about the negative effects of rewards, the positive effects of rewards in very limited, scenarios, and how it's validating Montessori. And again, because the book was published in 2005, so all the research are kind of cited in the book was coming from early years. And we also look into some of the most recent work to validate that the research that's done in those 40 years are still valid, very valid and relevant. And Montessori education continue to bring a lot of positive impacts of how they use rewards in the classroom. And so we're creating all this content, research-backed and data content to bring into Montopia for parent education purposes, helping parents to understand it's not just school telling you that Montessori education is very valuable, but research has shown the same exact effect to the value too. Home activities that align with classroom learning that can be easily sent over to parents as well. Montessori tips and language that you can use based on your child's age and where they are right now in the classroom that can help you to easily tap into those content and way of thinking and way of talking, communicating that you can implement at home as well. What if we also design a report card that when you now know all the details of each lesson, a report can help you to connect all the dots together, but at the same time show you the overall Montessori process through a report card, highlighting some of the key things, for example, social emotional development, how's the overall classroom setup, the teacher, the material, everything in the classroom help and support the child's, social emotional development. So we're putting a lot of time and thinking into design a very unique looking report cards that the teachers can generate within 5 minutes to deliver to parents, highlighting the teacher training. What does it mean to the child's individual learning in the classroom? If we take the overall primary classroom curriculum and map it out to show parents the progress of the child's learning in the classroom, starting at age 2.5 to up to 6, how they start early on with a lot of practical life and sensorial, and how it prepares the child to go into the later age of being able to do a lot of advanced academic work. And it gives parents a sense of certainty, knowing that it will come, and this is where they need to focus on right now when they're still early on at age 2 and 3, and we need to be patient. And we know that the things that we're all looking for, the academic work, parents, it will eventually come when it gets to the later stage of that 3 years. And I also mentioned about social emotional development, and so we have a whole page of write-up topic into film and how each element in the classroom supports the learning. And we highlight the importance of 3-year cycle. So what we're trying to do is based on all the lessons we learned for almost a year of research, from over 50 conversations with parents in schools, with the data analysis that we've done, with all the deep thinking we put into trying to understand what could be a effective parent partnership solution looks like. How can we create content based on different topics, based on different needs, and how can we deliver a very personalized parent education experience to parents and working with schools. And when we're doing all this work, one of the interesting experience we had was when we're implementing the tool in one of the schools that we piloted with in the first place. It took us forever to convince the teachers. And that's when we learned that for this tool, when we're designing it, we need to make sure that we have the teachers in mind, knowing they play such a pivotal role in this parent education experience because they need to share the classroom data. And so it's not just about the content we're creating in, but also the experience that parents are receiving, but the experience for the teachers too. How can we streamline their process of managing and the classroom and communicating with the parents to make it super engaging and interesting and also efficient for them to conduct the parent education work, but at the same time, streamline all the other work that they're doing in the classroom management tasks. So in Montopia, we integrate all the features, allowing teachers to quickly plan their lessons. When they're sending lessons to communicate with the parents, it automatically document those lessons for teachers without them to document it one more time manually. We offer a feed-style learning progress tracking for each child, allowing teachers to visually seeing and observing the child's learning. It also allows them to have a lot of emotional rewards of seeing what they've done with their child in the classroom. And one of the feedback we got was it was very rewarding when they're looking at the photos and each child's progress visually in the app. And they love that a lot. We also return real data, allowing teachers to understand how effective the parent education content that they're sharing with parents through the app, and give them a good sense of if I'm putting the work, is it worth it? And the answer is, of course, yes. And so, all the features we're bringing also keep the teachers in mind, trying to make their life a lot easier. And to summarize, what we're
Okay, we'll give her another minute to get back. Thank you for everyone for being patient.
for teachers to share the content quickly and easily. It allowed the parents to receive the learning updates from the classroom. So we're achieving the first level of experience, which is clarity. The second one is confidence. So what does it mean? Is Montessori really working? So through lesson explanations, through the Montessori explained videos, through the research-backed Montessori insights, we're giving parents a lot of confidence that I know now I can see that it's working, and not just through the classroom data, but through all the content that I'm receiving, especially the research-backed insights. And the last part is how can they integrate it into their home? So the final layer of experience is integration. So through Montessori tips as well as the home activities, they're integrating Montessori education into their home. They get to repeat, get to practice, get to experience the true benefits of Montessori education in their daily life. And the final layer that we're working towards that I'm not putting in here is, that now they become the advocates for Montessori education as well as your school, being able to communicate with other parents clearly, having the right language, knowing what the value that they truly experience from their own experience and share that with parents. And that's when they're able to bring the right parents for your school. And one last thing I want to share is, we're very mindful when we design the whole Montessori parent education experience is that in Montessori, we all believe that children are capable, and we're designing this whole parent education experience for schools and for parents. We extend that same idea to families, and we believe that parents are capable too. We're creating a prepared environment to help them and support them by giving them the right information at the right time, and even the content that we're writing up in the app is very reassuring to create an experience for parents to know that they're actually capable, they're doing the right things, and we're just giving them extra support to making sure they continue to do better. And this is the whole mindset and of the creation of the product as well as the experience we're hoping to bring to schools and parents. And that's kind of all the content I want to share today. I don't know whether there's any comments or feedback or questions.
I have a question. Um,
Hi, Jill. How are
so
you?
hi, good, fascinating, love. I'm a data person too.
Perfect.
Um, I'm just going back to the beginning of your presentation where you said almost 50% of parents don't want to learn more.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have data points in terms of where this platform has been implemented and how that has increased
Mm-hmm.
parents wanting to participate and learn more?
So let me try to repeat back your question and see whether I understand it correctly. So you were asking if almost 50% of the parents said that they're not interested in learning, is the implementation of the app will increase the parents' willingness that want to learn more about Montessori education philosophy. Is that your question?
Correct, correct.
So that's actually a great question. We continue to come up with new ways of collecting data and trying to understand how the tool shift parents' desire and willingness to learn about Montessori education. We don't have that data point right now. And your question actually prompted me to maybe go back and refine some of the data points we're collecting. But and one thing that we did learn about from our I would say indirect, data point that we're collecting is through teacher feedback. And one of a very profound and also constant experience way feedback we get from teachers are how the conversations in the parent-teacher conference have shifted tremendously. So before, usually when parents come in for a teacher conference, one of the common things that I see is parents don't really know what question to ask. And sometimes the teacher will spend a lot of time explaining some of the lessons to parents, even bring up the materials to demonstrate to them. And now the conversation goes deeper, meaning they come up with a lot of knowledge about their child's learning and the context of, the lessons and the learning experience, and they're able to ask deeper questions. And that's what the teachers enjoy a lot. And I would not say that necessary parents are now more willing to learn about Montessori education, but passively they're receiving a lot of valuable information from schools because the design of the app allowing them to, tap into those content because it's relevant to their child's current learning progress in the classroom. I don't know whether that answers your question.
No, it does. Just in my experience, we don't have your wonderful app, but we do many of the things that you're outlining,
Mm. Okay.
like cobbled together over the years.
Mm.
We send a newsletter once a
Mm.
week through our Bright Wheel app that highlights aspects of Miss Montessori, those
Mm.
bite-sized chunks, and then an
Mm.
associated parent tip at the end, how that's relevant to them and how they
Mm.
can facilitate at home. And we send that once a week.
Mm.
And I got to tell you, I think those numbers are the same. It's like 55% of the people read them and the other 44 don't, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And we go far and wide to educate our parents. And there's just some people, looking at your survey data, they just don't have time. They
Mm.
just do not have time. So even though they would see something like this and value
Right.
it for sure,
Mm.
we definitely have a percentage of parents here who they're like on their second child with us and they still don't understand Montessori because they don't take the time.
Mm.
They're just like, my kid's happy, they're learning, I trust this center, my friends
Yeah.
go there, like I'm busy at work and,
Mm.
it's all good. So, it's that engagement piece, getting people on board.
Mm.
And I think it also wanes over time
Mm.
because new families who are coming into your school, um, I mean, they're so excited. They're so
Right.
excited. They will engage with everything you put in front of them. They will sign any
Mm.
piece of paper you put in front of them. They're just like, I want it, and they'll
Right.
get really involved. And then when you're, 3 or 4 years in and they're on their second child, they're like, yeah, I trust these people. You know what I mean? So
Yes, yes,
it's
absolutely.
difficult to, everybody's attention spans these days are
Mhm.
so scattered.
Right.
Um, so, one thing that I think um, is valuable is those personal connections, like the
Mm,
parent-teacher conference, where,
mm,
you have that opportunity to really connect with the parent and maybe
mm,
explain, some of these touch points in person.
mm,
Um, Even then, there are parents who are just like, yeah, 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 okay.
mm.
So it's
Yes,
very difficult to capture people's attention
right.
these days, particularly parents. And I
Mm,
mean, we try to do it from the initial contact. We do an
mm,
online information session where we provide context about our school, but also context about the history of Montessori, the
mm,
curriculum, the philosophy, right from the moment we meet them. So we're educating them from the moment we meet them. And of course, they're like, yes, yes, I want it.
yes.
But they can't come to a seminar, even a webinar. I've done like lunchtime webinars,
Mm,
um, low participation. People are just overscheduled these days. So
mm,
I, you know, I'm happy to see that it's 55% want to learn more. That's pretty much what I see. And there's this other
I'm glad.
40% that just
Yeah.
they're just never going to do it.
Mm,
So it's really, really challenging.
mm. No, I understand, and it's I want to reassure you that it's not long because for me, I've conducted over 30 conversations with one-on-one interviews with schools when we started, trying to figure out what's happening and what's the how idea of how why it's so difficult. And so besides I mentioned about the rich content we created, and I believe that for schools, you are more experienced than I am, and you are able to create all of the great content. And so for us, it's not just the content, but also the experience. Like you said, they're not able to come, they're overbooked. How their attention span is so low, and how do we get them to pay attention? So this is also the mindful design of the parent experience in their app that allows them to, like I mentioned, give them the right motivation and get them to learn through the content we want them to learn. So this is one of the example that I just set up quickly while you're talking, is when the teacher send a lesson. Let's say, Jackson has a lesson intro to decimal system with beads. The teacher can quickly send that lesson. You may not be able to see the demo because I was quickly setting up. And this is the parent interface. When they get the lesson from the teachers, it generate an update for the parent. The photo that attached to that lesson was blurred, so parents wasn't able to see the photo. They click through, the information, first of all, studying about the purposes behind this lesson, so they get to understand the value. And they also get to see the material. So as I mentioned, the materials are from Eden Young Houses and Montessori Services. And as the parent progressed with the learning, they slowly see their child's photo revealed. And that's when they can eventually finish the learning. Oh, wait. And then sending a thank you to the teacher, and that's when can finally see the photo and download the photo. So it's a process of how do we set it up in such a way that it's just not the bite-sized content, but the overall learning experience is fun and engaging, and they get a reward, even though in Montessori we don't say reward, but for parents sometimes we do. And
Yeah, and I think there's a percentage of parents who are data nerds like us
mm,
who really value that.
mhm,
Um, and I think there are other parents who wouldn't take the time to even click what that lesson
mhm,
is. Do you
mhm.
know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Um, I think what you've created is incredible. I mean,
Mhm,
like I said, we've kind of cobbled these things together over the
mhm,
years where we're like, get a picture of this material and, clip it and put it in a newsletter. And I mean,
mhm.
fantastic, fantastic product that you've created. I bow down to you. It's incredible.
Thank you.
And I don't think anything like it exists on this level for
Mhm,
sure. So congratulations on making a fabulous product. It's just, you know, the psychology of today's parent.
Yes.
Some people would be all over this and monitor
Mm,
every single data point. And then
mm.
some of our parents would just be like, okay, is my kid alive when I pick them up? Like,
No, I
it's
100% agree with
difficult.
you. Yeah, because even like with the whole design of the product and everything, we're seeing over 80% of parent engagement rate overall. And for some
That's
schools,
great.
it's 92%. That's the highest we're seeing right now. But even 92%, we're not even to get to 100%. And we talk to those schools and we all finally, admit that there are just some parents who will never get into any product that you're trying to provide to them and hand it over to them. And so there's definitely certain percentage of parents that are not really, doing anything that you want them to do. But with a better solution and a better content creation and better experience that we're able to create, we can definitely increase that percentage, maybe
Yeah.
from
Well, and
50% to 80 to even 90%. So that's what we're working towards.
yeah.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of that, the
Hmm.
administrative and teacher part, fabulous at your fingertips, saves a
Hmm.
lot of time.
Hmm.
But I get a lot of teacher pushback where they're
Hmm.
like, I'm trying to teach.
Yes.
My primary goal is to teach and spend my
Right.
time teaching rather than
Hmm.
taking pictures and pushing buttons for data gathering,
Right. Yes.
which the goal of that is to keep the parent informed preemptively so
Mhm.
that they're not asking what's my child doing.
Right.
But to get Montessori teachers on board to spend their
Mm.
time doing that, I mean, I understand where they're coming from as well.
Right.
Just the app we use Bright Wheel right now, and just
Hmm.
just for them to carve time to answer all the parents' messages is
Mm.
challenging,
No,
and take
yes.
put pictures in the children's feeds is challenging. The teacher's like, I just want to teach, so
No, I
so
absolutely
that's a
understand. So
challenge too.
I actually want to share. I'm so glad you mentioned that because when we first came up with the product last year, so we're still new. We launched 2025 January. So in 2024, when I first started having the idea and we deployed the product and we worked with two schools extensively for 4 months to pilot the product, making sure that it's a valid idea. And you won't believe it, but it took for that 4 months, the first 3 months were working with the classroom teachers trying to convince them to get on the app. And it took us 3 months learning about them, what their challenges are, and how can we create not the experience not just for parents but for teachers too, to eventually get them feel like valuable to get on the app. And so I definitely, understand what you're saying because I experienced that firsthand of the challenges of convincing to parents. And that's why in the app, we are able to figure out many ways to help the teachers to make their life so much easier. So, for example, when the teacher is sending a lesson from here, they choose a child, they send a lesson, it's less than 10 seconds. You quickly send a lesson. It takes them less than seconds. And when you're sending a lesson, it automatically go to the lesson list and mark off that lesson for you. So it's automatic record keeping. So that's one big plus for teachers is when you send a lesson, you can see that it automatically mark it for you without you going to do record keeping manually. Another big plus for the teachers is when you're gathering the data points, all the data sent over to the report card. So now it takes less than 5 minutes for you to generate the beautifully designed Montessori aligned report cards, which was usually before 40 minutes to an hour to write up each individual report card. At least that's what the teachers told me from the schools that we work with, and also return real time the parent education content or the numbers to teachers. So let me show you what does it look like. And so we're putting a lot of thoughts trying to help teachers see the value. So in the teachers app, they can see real time the parent engagement rate. They can click on that to see the individual parent engagement rate with the content to give them a lot of clarity and understanding of like when parents come to me for a question, I know that they're not actually reading, and that's why they're coming from for those questions. Another interesting you mentioned about replying messages in Bright Wheel is I still remember when we first brought this app to the pilot school and we sit down, I presented this app and the whole idea. And the first question ever I got asked by the teachers are, is this a one-way communication, two ways? And I asked back, do you want it to be one way or two way? And they said, please make it one way because I don't want to, communicate back and forth with the parents, especially now I'm sharing some more deep content about the lessons that we're presenting. So we mindfully designed the app to be a one-way communication. It allows the parents to quickly send a thank you note, and that's it. No questions can be asked through the app. And another thing that we're trying to create through the app is we don't try to replace the in-person connection. What we're trying to do is give parents enough content and context, and so they can move those deeper conversation to be in person, go in and talk to the teachers instead of, trying to message back and forth through the app. So we designed it in a very purposeful way that let the app be a one-way communication instead of a two-way. So there are a lot of thoughts we put into the app, even like for lesson planning, it's just swipe and plan and print out the lesson planning sheet into the classroom. So and also like the content, why do we create all these videos? Because one thing we learn again with teachers are they are trained to work with the children. They're not trained to explain Montessori education to parents. And sometimes it's very struggle when parents come in for a question. How do I explain the concept within a minute or even shorter time? About what is control error, when is a good time to explain it to them, and what's the best way to, and I need to repeat the same thing again and again with different parents. And that's when we realize, okay, to save their time, let's create the content that they can use right away, send it to parents. Everything is done already for them, very easy and quick. And we're creating a lot of different ways and resources to help teachers to streamline their work, but also create the right content and the right tool for them to communicate with the parents in a more effective way. And that's why we're able to, get a lot of interest from teachers now, which is not an easy path. It took us a year, and we launched 40 different versions, eventually to get to the position of, getting teachers to be excited. And now we have a teacher buying meeting usually, and now it's a lot easier. You cannot, yeah, I still remember the first meeting. It was a very hard experience for me myself too.
Yeah, and perhaps it's, I hate to say this, um,
Mm,
generational as well,
yes.
because we have teachers that have been doing this for 30 years,
Mm,
and they're just like not super
tech,
technology. They're
yes.
afraid of it. They don't see the
Hmm.
purpose. They're very old
Right.
school.
Mm,
Um, But I would suspect that,
mm.
a brand new, just out of school
Teacher.
Montessori teacher who's starting their
Yes.
career would be like, yeah, boop, boop, boop,
Yeah.
like, so it could be generational as well.
It could be generational. So we have some schools that have teachers, are way more experienced, and so there are different practices that we learn from those schools. So for teachers who are way more experienced, have more years of experience, they're setting the expectation of I'm sending one lesson to one parent each week, and so it makes it like there's a set expectation. It's easier. I'm learning it, and I'm doing it in the way that's aligned with my,
Comfortable.
yes,
Yeah.
practical. And then
Hmm.
at the same school, we have younger teachers who are sending all the lessons. I do it
Hmm.
lunchtime, 10
Hmm.
minutes, boom, 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 and it's done. So
Hmm.
that's one thing that we also like is we learn a lot from the schools that we work with is their flexibilities of how you can use this tool to communicate. And even one lesson each week, it makes a lot of difference for parents too, because
Yeah.
we're thinking about like 20, 40, or even 50 contents, videos, research back data results, those things, it's a cumulative, experience, not just a one-time thing. And so even once a week, it makes a huge difference for after
Yeah.
3 months or
And
even
do you
before.
think today's generation of parent want these like micro datas?
Mm.
Do you
Um,
think that's the type of parents that are in the world now?
so I would say so based on the data that we're tracking right now. So we track a lot of user data, and one of the key metrics we're tracking is parent engagement. And again, I mentioned that a couple of times, but we're seeing over 80% of parent engagement rate, which is phenomenal, and then we're also conducting a few surveys for parents. And I still remember one of the schools we conducted the survey, and one of the questions we asked is, how do you rate the app? And one of the parents rated them 2 out of 5. And we reached out personally asking like, so what's lacking? How can we improve? And the parent basically says, I want more content. I was like, it's not about the app.
Oh
It's
my
about,
gosh.
I know. It was surprising.
Dang.
Yes. So it's interesting. I'm so personally I've learned a lot, not just from parents, not just from teachers, but about parents too, even though I'm a parent, is there's a lot of things we would have a prejudice of like maybe this is what they want or maybe this is what it is like. But once you implement the tool and get to see the results and get to see the data, that's give you a lot of insights. And I learned a lot from, not just conversations, but the data that we're collecting as well about what's truly working and what's not, and how can we refine. And again, it's not that we know all the answers. For me, myself as a parent, I'm walking the fine line of being a parent and also being supported by a group of very experienced Montessorians to create this product altogether. But I'm still learning and figure out a lot of things, even like find a balance of how much is enough for a parent. Is it too much? How
Yeah.
much is enough for
Yeah.
school, right? So
Yeah.
I'm still learning a lot of the things of what's the balance. And there's always things that we can improve. And so the conversations like this, validating some of the work that we've done, but also, prompt me to think deeper on some of the other questions. It helps us to continue to bring a lot of insights into the parent education work that we're doing. And that's where our passion really is. So thank
Yeah.
you for all the questions and feedback.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank
Sorry to
you.
hog the question time.
Hey, I just wanted to chime in and say, I'm really glad, Isabella, you shared how it looks from the teacher's perspective, and all that happens immediately. At my school for 24 years, we were constantly fighting the battle of record keeping, lesson planning,
Mm,
and communicating with parents exactly about parent education. We did all the things you're talking about, Jill, and it was never right. It was minimally useful. And I think there are always going to be parents who are not going to engage, always. Which is really sad, obviously, for the children, but reality. What I think the big sale of what Isabella is offering is that it's all at one time. We tried Transparent Classroom. We tried Montessori Records Express. I ended up at Brightwheel, going back to the old-fashioned record keeping manually. And it was because I kept asking the Montessori apps, how do we do this faster? I don't want my teachers to be taken away and have to click on something in a computer or a tablet or even on their phone. It needs to be instantaneous. So I think that's the benefit when you're talking to your staff. There's always going to be teachers. I've been in this a long time too, and I absolutely put off technology, and everybody that knows me knows that technology is not my friend. But when technology can save us time, I think that's going to be the big push. You're not only communicating with parents, you're not only teaching parents, you're not only sharing what's going on with their child, so you don't have to answer that question 30 times at the end of the day. You are also doing all your record keeping, lesson planning, and if you choose to use the report card, all in one fell swoop. That there is no way that doesn't save time. And to date, I was really excited, I have to admit, when Montessori Records Express introduced verbal record keeping. That was really exciting. But it doesn't do it all. Diane, oh my gosh. We've been using Montopia. Look at that. Julia, I'll turn this back over to you and I'll be quiet now. But I do think it's the benefit that it's all in one place. And let Diane talk.
Dolores, did you have a question or a comment too?
It was answered in the process. Thanks.
And then Isabella in the chat, Maria says, how much time does teacher training on app take?
It's usually less than 30 minutes. So we set up a one, teacher training session, less than 30 minutes. We created videos that they can refer back to as well. But as you can see, it's an app. It's just that easy. And so less than 30 minutes, they feel comfortable to just, to get ready and start doing the work.
Diane, did you want to chime in?
Well, I just want to say that we've had a great positive experience with Isabella and the whole Montopia app. Our parents, we have like, I think it's a 92% engagement rate with our parents, which is way more than we ever got on Transparent Classroom. When I look in Transparent Classroom on engagement, I see all those flat lines of them never logging in. I think the thing that the parents like is that it visually it's appealing, way different than Transparent Classroom where, there's just a very long paragraphs and just a lot of words and there's just not engagement. The when the parents get a new lesson where they have to click on an egg and they have to answer a question. I will say that sometimes some parents are a little annoyed about having to answer a question. They get over it, they answer the question, they move on. But it's been great. And I really do mean Isabella is amazing to work with when you first on board. And anytime we have needed help or clarification or, adding a new lesson in for us, like it has just been smooth all the way. So, and I still use Transparent Classroom just because we don't have, I'm getting ready to add our toddler community to here. But it's been great. I've been very happy.
Thank you so much, Diane. And I still remember when we first usually ask that question when I onboarded at school is, what's your expectation? And Diane said that, oh, you'd be good to be over 90%. I was like, okay, thank you for motivating me. So we work towards that goal. And we always have that question, what's the expectation? And some schools, they said like 75% will be great. We're able to get to 85%. And for Diane, I'm very proud of your teachers. And they brought a lot of great feedback from their experience working with other tools. And we're able to make a lot of enhancements based on your feedback. And that's something that actually mean is I don't think we get to the destination yet. We're still learning. And every school that we'll work with brings a lot of insights for us to continue to improve. So I really, truly appreciate working with your teachers.
And Diane, maybe you can answer this too. Kelly in the chat says, what sort of transition process is it to go from a different software such as Transparent Classroom? So I know you said you're still using Transparent Classroom, or maybe someone else can answer this too. How is that going? How is the transition?
The teacher, I mean, we still use the communication piece of Transparent Classroom to send out notices to parents and things. And the transition has been really fine. I haven't had any parents say, oh my gosh, it's one more app or one more thing I have to look at. And I think that's just due to the ease of using Montopia. It's just not rocket science, they just click and it's, everything is right there. So I just really haven't had any issues with them using both Transparent Classroom and Montopia. We used report cards with Montopia in our fall conferences, and our teachers loved it. It was just so easy for them. It literally just fills in itself, and then they just add in what they want to add in when they're, talking one-on-one with their parents. So that was super quick. But yeah, we have 3 platforms that our parents have to engage with, and so far, no, everything's been good.
And Isabella, maybe you could talk about how long it takes to input children and family contacts into Montopia.
So we have a spreadsheet that you can import all the information into it right away. And you don't need much because it's for parent education purposes. In the Excel sheet, the only required field that we ask for is the child's name, the one parent's name and one parent info, and that's it. And if you're using other platforms, you can just like a lot of our schools pair with Brightwheel and or ProCare, so they have two parallel apps at the same time, and they can export the data from the other system and just import it right away. So very easy and quick. And also talking about transition from, for example, Transparent Classroom to Montopia, because what you really need is move the data of the lesson that they presented to Montopia. It's super easy and quick because in the teacher's app, you can quickly go over the list and just checkbox those lessons. And that's one of the big step that teachers have to do when they're migrating the data over. And it's just that easy. Just checkbox those lessons, and it's a one-time thing. And then once it's done, it generates the report cards for you. You can continue documenting lessons from Montopia, and we offer a way more comprehensive lesson lists compared with Transparent Classroom. Because, for example, we offer AMI as well AMS albums. For AMS, we're launching the science manual this week, and so with that, we will have over 400 lessons. And for schools, if you're seeing any lessons that you don't have in the lesson list, there's a button in the app that you can quickly submit a missing lesson. And our team will add those lessons for you within 48 hours. And so you can also archive the lesson. You can change the lesson name. So there are a lot of things you can do in the app very easily and quickly. And our lesson list is very comprehensive.
Are there any other questions? All right, thank you, Isabella. That was very comprehensive, and I think people are very excited about Montopia. Next week, we are back with Corinne Clark. We have Children Not Yet Liberated, so we'll hope to see you for that next Thursday. I hope everyone has a great week. Thank you, Isabella.
Thank you so much, all, and thank you so much, Diane.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.